I'm going to call the August meeting of the HPC to order. And if there are no objections, we're going to skip item 1 and or postpone it till the end of the meeting and move right into the consent agenda. Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent? Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? All right, thank you. The first item of new business is the request of Emily Jordan to install a fence at 1020 Harrison Street. Ms. Jordan, if you will come forward. You have an assistant.
I do.
All right. Well, if
We're a
you and
package deal.
your assistant will have a seat,
All right, come on.
and if you would tell us your name and your address and the nature of your
All right.
request.
Emily Jordan, 1020 Harrison Street, and I'm requesting to put up a privacy fence on one side of my yard.
Okay. And we have a picture up there.
And that's like my neighbors next door.
Okay.
And then those are the colors. The stain is for the fence, and then the color is for the trim of the house, which is the other item I was asking for.
Let's see.
So essentially, it'd be the wooden parts, the green and the yellow, would all be that same color, which is a kind of a cream, kind of a tan color. It's a microphone.
Similar to what's there now.
I'm sorry?
Similar to the color.
Actually,
now?
that's very yellow.
Oh,
In
okay.
person, it's very yellow and green.
Is that a house?
And it hasn't been painted in a very, very long time.
Okay.
The house has actually been empty for over 20 years.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions?
No. Where's the house?
It's our house, yeah.
Emmett, down there, questions? Is there a motion?
Just double checking, the 6 foot stops at the body of the house.
What's the?
But I think start mid and then go
I'm looking, starting at it starts at the back corner of the house and goes out and then back.
So if you're looking at the front of the house, it's to the left and
Right.
goes over and then goes along the back. The back of the house, to where you see the yellow line ends, is a lot of shrubbery. So it's essentially to keep my child from running into the street. It's nothing more than that, really. So, and it looks identical to my next door neighbor's house, which Bill, who, unfortunately we recently lost. Yeah, it's identical to his fence.
Yeah, so it's at the back corner. So it's good with zoning then, right, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do I hear a motion?
I move to approve as submitted.
Both the paint and the fence?
Yes.
Is there a second? Any more discussion?
Mommy.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Good to go, thank you.
And how long do I have? I mean, I know there's a period
year.
A year, okay.
And you will receive information from Eve that
Okay.
says you've been approved and
Wonderful.
everything.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you
Yeah,
and your
get out of
assistant.
everybody's hair. You have a peaceful meeting now.
Okay. Oh, she was very good.
Yeah, she can be.
Okay. Our second item is a request of Colin Pennington to install a picket fence at 923 Harrison, and he has no assistant.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. All right, Colin, if you would tell us Once again, for the record, your name, address, and your request.
Colin Pennington, 923 Harrison Street. My wife Lacey and I just moved here about a month ago, and we've got a couple of dogs who tolerated a 600 square foot apartment in New York for a year, so we'd love to give them a backyard. And I made a mistake on this document. It says 4 feet. It's actually going to be 3 feet high all the way across. It will ultimately be painted white to match the trim on the porch of the house there. And parallel sides of 75 feet in length or so. At the back of the porch is where the fence will start, leaving technically the front yard unfenced, and then connecting at the back. You see there, and that I think that's on Federal Street, a street or two up from Harrison. That's essentially what I'm going for. I believe it's known as Gothic style, and I would basically use that as the template.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments?
It usually takes 3 months or so for that wood to set and dry out once it's been treated, and then one would apply paint.
Paint.
So that's the time frame that
Yeah.
I'll be working with.
Well, you have a year without asking for an extension, so you would be good.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve this minute.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? No? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, well, your dogs have their pets. That's
Can't wait to
good.
tell them. Thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
The next item is the request of Mark Haskew to replace a rear deck at 2311 Rivermont. Hi, Mr. Haskew.
I am Tim Womack. I'm his contractor.
Okay,
So my name is Tim Womack, representing Mark Haskew to replace the rear deck at 2311 Rivermont Avenue.
and this is changing the
We're not going to change
configuration.
anything.
Oh, you're not?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
His first submittal was to change part of it, but now he doesn't want to. He wants to put it back exactly like it was.
oh, okay.
I thought he was changing the
Steps.
stairs.
We're putting in new stairs.
He said that he was changing the direction that they're facing.
Yeah, the configuration.
So right now they're facing to the left, and then now they're they're going to be facing to the right. Is
Right, that was for the new old deck, that we were going to build, but now he has changed his mind on moving it from what it was going to be new to what it is originally,
Oh,
which is what
okay.
it is now.
Okay.
So essentially, we're looking to do the exact same thing.
Are there any questions for Mr. Womack? If it's the very same.
Painted, I missed that part.
I'm not personally staining it at this present. As you know, with decks, they have to dry for a year before you do that. And so we'll be waiting for the wood to dry out, and then he hasn't given me any indication as far as staining or painting yet.
And either would be okay, Eve?
Yeah, it says they should be stained or painted to match or blend with the colors of the building.
Right.
So maybe I have a couple questions. Do we need that included, and do we need an amended submission? I'm not questioning what he's telling us, but when our submittal says one thing and what we're hearing from someone other than who's named on the application is different, I don't know the process.
I drew that drawing that's he submitted.
I appreciate that, but it's got his name on it.
Right.
Are you asking mostly about, in terms of the direction of the steps?
Well, yeah, if there's a change, and again, I'm not challenging what he's telling us, but what we received on the application is something other, and somebody other than who's named on it is telling us to deviate from that. when making our decision.
We can build it as it stands on the drawing, if that's what y'all would prefer.
I was gonna say, does it change the commission's decision if it's one way or the other? I
don't
mean,
know.
you could approve both, you could approve,
Okay. yeah.
One, not the
Just
other.
looking
If-
for
If
clarification.
it stays the way that it is, do we need to approve it?
if it stays the way that it is, I would have administratively approved it,
Yeah.
but I mean, you can include it.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
you said, I don't know, the last I heard from the owner was that he wanted to change it. So I don't know if you want to approve both, just to cover bases. But
Okay.
Good to know. I think
So
I would be
what's
fine
your
with either
pleasure?
one. I'd be fine with either way that it
And
was.
so would I.
Yeah.
Are you fine
So-
with either way?
Motion to approve as submitted, noting the stain or color over time.
Second.
Okay, any more questions, concerns? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Mr. Womack,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
Okay, the next item is the request of Dr. Roderick Sampson of Ioric, not sure, Investments to paint 302 Washington Street. So if you would tell us your name and,
My name is Rod Sampson. I own 302 Washington Street on the hill. And
okay.
I started renovating in January now, so I'm £40 heavier. My bank
Yeah.
account's empty, but we're getting there. So,
Okay,
so we just tried to pick from the, it's on my wife's colour choices from the historic collection. She wanted something. It's been called the Biscuitville House in the neighbourhood.
Oh.
I discovered that's a fast food chain. So she's wanting to tone it down with a grayscale or something like that. And this is kind of the sort of theme that we went for. I know you need the sashes a different colour to the frames. We're going to do all that. And then just to make it harmonious, we've also got a slate roof as well. And we're trying to kind of match it all together and just go with a sort of an aqua theme. But yeah, so those are the kind of samples. There's obviously lead paint cracked on the windowsill there, which is coming off. But something like that, that's kind of what we're looking for. So it'll be quite...
You noted the sashes, what were you thinking about the sashes?
No, last time I was here, I was paying close attention, and everyone was commenting that you wanted the sashes a different colour because it's historically correct and to
Yeah.
pop and all that sort of stuff. So we're trying to follow the rules, sort of thing. So
Okay. So did you have a color on that chart of what you're gonna do the sashes in?
they're just an off-white.
Just- okay.
Yeah, just an off-white. I didn't. No, I didn't. So the trim is the top one, and then the sashes will just be just basically white. Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
That's great.
And then the fire escape's gone down. We've got new column bases and all that sort of stuff that you approved last time is really zipping along. So we're on it full time. So it's
good.
it's coming down. No more raccoons in the attic. So that's a
No squatters.
has
That's a
gone.
major step in and of itself.
It is, yeah.
Continued good work. I'd
Yeah.
move to approve as submitted.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
Thank you.
one more project to
Yes. You're
undertake.
hearing more from me, don't worry. Have a good one, cheers.
All right, next item is the request of Royston Jester IV to repair a roof and replace the slate with synthetic slate at 1022 Court. And Mr. Jester, welcome, if you would tell us your name and address for the record.
All right, I'm Royston Jeffs IV, and my office is at 1022 Court Street. It's not where I live. What I'm asking for is to totally replace my roof. My father and I bought this property back in 1977 at an auction, and at the time it was apartments, and we wanted to put our office there. So we got it, we totally gutted the inside and replaced everything and made it so it'd be useful as a law office with multiple offices throughout. Over the years, we had problems with leaking roofs, and I tried piecemeal Band-Aid approach to stop it. Not successful, not successful. So, last summer I said, I've just got to do something because of, I have stuff falling from the roof on my tenants and they don't like that. So, I got a roofer to give me an estimate with slate and it came in just under $300,000. Well, that took my breath away. I said, there is no way I could possibly afford anything like that. So I let it go, and then through a friend, I contacted Mr. Rowley, who's here for Sinbar, to come look at the roof to give me an estimate. And he did, and looked at it and said that the whole slate is just pretty well gone. It's all brittle. You can't reuse them. And that's the other thing on the $300,000 estimate. That's if they didn't have to replace slate. That's to use existing slate. If they had to use more slate, no telling what it would have cost. So he showed me this new product. There it is up there. It looks slate. I think it's a great, much better substitute than real slate. And I'm asking for approval to allow me to use that material on my roof in place of the slate that's there.
Were the pictures, Eve, of your existing roof, the one that we were seeing, that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's some that are a little bit better.
Would you be emulating the patterns
No,
that are there?
No, I've never been a huge fan of the patterns. I know they're there, but that's a luxury, I think.
It is. It's a lot of,
You see that.
Historic character.
it's a lot of historic detail. Yeah, I have no problem whatsoever with the synthetic slate. I think the guidelines are pretty clear on that. The synthetic is a non-issue. I'd love to see some level of detail, not just flat and plain.
Well, there are a lot of angles on that roof. It's not like two roofs coming together. It's all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, even the triangular pattern, it goes back and forth. Is that in the materials that you use? Is that level of detail possible with the material that you're specifying?
I've never been involved with having the designer in the synthetic slate. I'm not saying that it's not an option, but every time I've ever been involved with installing that, it's typically like the picture, maybe one or two back, or even if you can see at the very top of the roof, you see how it just goes down. It's typically just like that.
Right.
Yeah, the synthetic is typically, the slate is typically piece by piece,
Right.
which is how you're able to get those specialty designs versus the synthetic is generally not. You can get it piece by piece to have some nooks and crannies, if you will, but it's typically, I don't want to call it a shingle because it's definitely nowhere close to a shingle, but it comes in about a 3x3 that kind of overlaps one another to keep from the water penetrating.
So you still have the same exposure dimension as the existing slate? I'm guessing about 8 inches on the pieces the synthetic pieces that you're putting in. They're not 3 by.
No. It looks like the picture.
They will look like an individual slate.
Yeah, it literally, that's the best I can give it. The top part, it literally looks like that picture. Especially from the ground level, you looking up, you would practically never know the difference. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
It even has, you can see the imperfections. They really cut it like that by design. That's how it looks. So
I'd love you to ask the manufacturer if you could get some of those triangular, even if it's one, if you go back to the big picture, Eve, where each time you have the triangular patterns, even if it were just one stripe, if you will, across, that they could do just to give you that level of detail, it would go a long way. I'm not going to fight and completely disapprove if you don't, but I think it would add so much character back to what you already have. It's a stunning house, and it's just the level of detail that's there is so nice. I think it'd be wonderful if you would explore that with them and see if that's a, if they have a stock piece that comes in the fish scale, if you will. I'd love for you to explore that and see if that's
Well,
a
we
possibility.
could, I would like to see if we can go ahead and get approval, because
Yeah.
I need to get started. But certainly, I'll get them to check, and if it is available, then I'll get them to substitute that.
Okay,
For
yeah.
the
Yeah,
type.
and you don't have to do, 4 or 5 rows of it like you're seeing there. Like I say, if you pull in one or two rows, like 3 times down the roof, I think
Sure.
it will go a long time to break up that big
Sure.
black expanse. I guess my second question is, what are you doing with all the trim? That crenellated metal along the top and ridges, all the ridges?
We have a couple different options to go on the trim. I need to explore that a little bit more in depth. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get that type of, prestige out of that, if you will. But we have a couple different options to go on the hips and the valleys and things of that nature.
Yeah, the hips and ridges actually look in pretty darn good shape. If you're putting weather shield under, the ice and rain shield underneath it, could you reuse? I'm assuming, I don't know if that's.
Yeah, so this gets put down just like any other roof. So I mean, you have your synthetic plus the ice and water, obviously.
Exactly, so I'm
underneath.
saying if you do that on the ridges, and then reused your historic.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. From that picture, it looks beautiful. When you're up there, it literally breaks without any. I mean, just barely. It's almost like a potato chip. It just, you touch it and it breaks.
It's tin.
It's
Yeah.
I've had some blow
All
off.
10.
It's not, really, I'm not
Okay.
real happy to even have it on there.
It's extremely brittle when you're up there.
Yeah,
It's,
I'd love to see what, as opposed to just a flat piece, to come back and let us know what, I think we can approve, I would be willing to approve the submission, but asking for ridge
What's there?
trim pieces, what that will be, so that we can be comfortable, assuming you're not gonna go back with copper, would be stunning to see, but, some sort of galvanized material. What about valleys?
Yeah, what do you do
What kind of
with
material are in your valleys?
we typically use a tin just so for hiding the purposes and water flow.
Is that a pre-finished
Yes,
in black
yes.
as well? Yeah, that would, I think
Yeah,
that would,
it'll be the color of the
yeah, that would
slate
be
itself.
appropriate. Yeah, so,
Yeah,
Are you talking about the piece at the very top?
Yeah,
The
And
detail?
and the,
going up the hip and across the ridge,
Yeah, I mean,
the
it
little,
would be a real shame to lose that feature. I mean, there's some really gorgeous brick Victorian homes on Court Street, and they were built with the intention of like the details from the foundation to the top of the roof, and so, as much of that we can save or recreate, I think is really
just-
important.
they were statement houses,
Yeah,
no
they're-
doubt about it.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure, so you do not like copper or you like copper?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
copper
copper's
would be
great.
stunning, yeah.
Because copper, that
It's just
actually was.
pricier,
Oh,
so,
it is.
yeah.
That was actually brought up and we were discussing doing his property.
Yeah, I think the copper would be great. I mean, it's gonna patina over time and it won't be the bright, it would be more this gray that we see here.
Would you have, how would you like the copper on the hips?
Again, I think your point of the level of detail is there. I'd be happy with a tin, a galvanized, a pre-finished even, that had more detail than just a simple flat. It would be more in keeping with the house's original.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, your home, it is
Yeah.
stunning. And, I think we don't want to lose the level of,
Yeah.
I mean, it is just one of the gorgeous houses on that street.
And you do see the roof because of the way it's situated on the hill, and so
Yeah,
it's like, you see those, and the way the house is, it's like you wanna look from the bottom all the way to the
Yeah,
top,
it's,
so.
it's a statement, baby.
Yeah, it's
There ain't no
really
doubt about it. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I can definitely bring that back up about using copper and also see explore what, kind of designer covers there are, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Like I said, if it's an off-the-shelf, I mean, you may be able to find some off-the-shelf items for ridge caps that could have more of a level of detail like that, as opposed to just, you can get the little rounded that flips down. But anything to give that,
Give it some pop.
yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
Sure.
Would be great. And just as an aside, some of those pictures, your brickwork along that edge needs a little repointing. So,
Yeah, like not today, I mean, not today.
Just not to open your checkbook more. Yeah, you're start at the top and come down, so you're doing, you're in the right
For the
sequence.
record, we're not here to tell you what else you have to do. You know your project list.
I just seen that one picture that was. So,
I think I'm tracking with what you're saying.
yeah, I think I'd make a motion to approve the synthetic slate black, with black pre-finished, valleys, and would request that the contractor look for some level of detailed slates that could be inserted as accents. So I guess everything can start and materials in order. I'd ask that you come back and talk to us about the ridge caps, to what pieces you can get to make that jump.
One problem, I'm going to be out of the country at your next meeting.
And would be fine with your contractor.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Yeah, we don't want to hold you up. That's, if you're ready to go, we are as well.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Was
So is that
was that a level
clear
of detail,
that we're
Eve?
approving the roof and
I'm
asking
seconding.
for okay, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Hey,
Opposed?
super.
All right.
Thank you all very much.
Good to
Wish you
go.
well.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Okay, our next, several items. Mr. Service, if you would tell us your name and your position and then.
My name's Casey Service. I'm here representing Tony. I'm his architect.
Okay, we'll start with 429.
429. So, Tony had been using this house as staging for the ones that he started on, and so he's far enough along to jump back to it. Similar to the other houses, Eve's already largely approved a lot of the in-kind repairs. This application is for a color scheme for painting, going away from the all white. And then generally the windows are in good shape on this one. There are a few that will need to be repaired and replaced, or new sashes. And then there's a small, this is the smallest parking area in the back. There's an existing drive between 429 and 433. And so we're just asking for a small turn in behind the house off of that existing drive for like 2 spots with some landscaping around it to shield it. And then the biggest thing is the roof is a metal tin shingle, and Tony's roofer has been up there, and thankfully the cupolas are somehow in decent enough shape that he can patch and paint them, but the main roof is just full of holes, and he's not been able to find a manufacturer for shingles, so we're asking to go on the main roof with a new standing seam. It would be the roofer told me I forgot the term here.
Is that a red shingle that's on there now?
It's a red. It's painted. Yeah.
It's a fish scale.
It's like slate or?
No, it's like a pressed tin.
Yeah,
It's actually got
Yeah, they're individuals.
they're individual little shingles. And so we're not looking to go back with a
Sure.
modern standing seam, but with the crimped ridges. So just, you know.
So hand crimped.
Yeah,
Well,
hold on one second. No, he's got it's not hand, combed ridges. So he's able to, instead of having the big flat, flashing over top, he's gonna roll the seam at the ridges. And his roofers don't like, the same roofer did the old Grace Lodge Hospital, the back, had a standing seam that we did tax credits on and did the same.
And what color?
We went back and forth, I think to not like upset the apple cart too much, we're sticking with a similar color, just so and I think we found a color scheme that.
And DHR is okay with the standing seam?
We're not doing tax credits on these. The houses get hard.
Yeah. Okay.
When they're apartments, so yeah, there was
Okay.
two, yeah. We tried on the first couple houses down closer to the bridge, and it was just the requirements were too much, so he's just.
Yeah, and it goes back to the same conversation you just heard
Mm-hmm.
of the level of detail. It would be stunning I was trying to say, I don't know if I haven't done a project that used fish scales like that.
I haven't, and it's.
I think they're out there.
Yeah, and I talked to his roofer, and I've dug around a little bit online. I just can't find. I think you can get them, from like a third part, like a salvage shop, but you're not going to get a warranty on it, and it's just they're old and they're going to be.
And there's a zillion of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, staying in 10. I mean, what do you all? Staying in 10 and staying in color, or staying in metal and staying in color. And particularly, like that the cupolas.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
cupolas.
Turrets.
Yeah, and we did, and
Yes,
similar
it
to
was.
the what you brought up in the last one with the finials at the corners. His roofer was comfortable with, because it's not continuous, it's just at the points. So he'll remove those, install the new roof, and then figure out how to get it back in place.
So you're doing the blue that's in the gable and on the top of the turret?
There are two slightly different blues.
Did they show up over here?
Yeah, they're the second and third ones down.
Okay, they're
Slightly more muted than what the rendering.
So they're a little more in the gray tone.
A little bit, yeah.
I'd be okay if they were brighter personally, but.
Yeah, and I don't know if you,
this is
so Tony's painted the first couple that he's further along, and it's sort of, to me honestly, it's sort of in between the two.
Yeah.
The by the time it gets on there. So
This is one of the more ornate and highly detailed ones on the block, and
Yep.
if you wanted to turn the volume up on
Go
this
big.
one, I'd be
I tried.
I'd be a happy camper. So, and the way I'm looking at it, the rendering seems to be brighter.
I think the rendering's a little brighter, but I think it will be a little brighter than the.
I'd love.
The paint colors from they tend to just sort of. I think it will be closer.
Those
to
are a lot more muted grayish.
Yeah, I think it'll be closer to what the
Then
rendering
I'd
looks
love you
like,
to
yeah.
whatever you need to do
Okay.
to amp those two up would be
Yeah, I agree.
would be fine.
Okay.
And the other thing you mentioned, the sashes.
I didn't mention the sashes on this. I mean, this one has a lot. So right now I'm showing.
Well, if you've already got the trim on the windows white, you could.
Yeah, we could keep the sashes white and just repaint the sashes white and do the gray. That fourth one down is
And
the
you could,
trim.
you can make the sashes a color if you want. If you've got the trim white.
True. Yeah.
To
Okay.
pop those, and I mentioned to you earlier, you mentioned the two that we approved 2 meetings ago, 3
Something like
meetings
that, yeah.
ago. The
One
sash-
of them's been painted.
Yeah,
since,
and the sashes didn't make it white though. The sashes are the same color as the trim.
I'll talk to Tony about that. I'll push
But
him.
yeah, I would say the same thing here. The sashes, if you made them a different color than the trim.
Okay.
Again, it's these Queen Anne's are just
Yeah, there's
I
no
mean,
limit.
they want it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I mean, they want every bingle bangle that you can throw on them. And I think making the sashes pop a little more would be even,
Okay.
so,
And how do you want to put that in that?
yeah, I'd move to approve as submitted, noting pop the color at the gable and the turret, maybe even a little more if you, I don't know how you want to word that
Could
administratively.
I have one more question though about,
Oh, I'm sorry.
well, I was just curious what you thought about the roof and did we land on what for the roof?
Yeah,
that-
yeah, my motion would be to approve the standing seam as submitted, color to match closely the existing with the ridge finials being reworked originals and the ridge of the standing seam to be a crimp seam as opposed to a big cap.
Yep.
Did you get all that in?
Good thing they're
It's a little bit
recorded.
over my head, but I think I'm tracking, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah, we've all seen the standing seam that they come in and they just plop them together and they stick this
Yeah, at the end.
guy that's about, this big over the top.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's saying he'll take those up and they'll do a crimp seam at the top.
And if you go over to the Grace Lodge and around back, there's a gable roof, and that's a 100% brand new roof, and it looks
Yeah.
old because they did that seam.
And the two parking spaces in the back. Oh, wait, well, let's see, they're in the back, so they can be,
Yeah, I don't think there's, I mean, I didn't see any issue at first with it.
yeah, they can be concrete because they're in the back and hidden.
That's my understanding, yeah.
So did we cover it all? Did that cover it
And
all?
can I just ask a question? Is the driveway a
Oh.
different type of material?
Sorry, go ahead.
The driveway is technically, I believe, on the next house. This is
But it'll
lot.
be used,
But it'll be used by,
okay.
because he owns
But you're not
both.
changing the driveway?
No, so the driveway has this, there are two, and you'll see as we move up the street. This one, I believe, is a concrete apron at the brick sidewalk, and then there's crumbled up concrete that needs to be replaced in kind, like,
Okay.
and then the next, there's a drive on the other side of, between 433 and 439, and that one has a brick apron through the sidewalk, and then it's concrete behind that.
The pad or two spots that are on the current application, do those, when I was looking through the different ones, is this gonna become one solid concrete pad in back?
Essentially, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself,
so it
but
connects
that's
to
where I
another
was
It connects to the,
struggling.
behind all of
okay.
it, yeah.
That's where I was
I see.
struggling personally. It looks more commercial than residential.
Yeah,
But it's down the hill and
yeah. Is it visible?
No, that'll.
if you go
So where you
where the
driveway's
drives are,
Like, goes like this, so.
yeah, if you go to where the drives are and go up right to the edge of the property line and look, you'll see it.
Yeah.
But
And you had suggested screening that heavily with,
So you can make your whole
Shrubs.
backyard concrete?
Right, to get
And-
connecting, and they're gonna literally connect.
yeah,
because you
I mean,
are-
and they'll have,
exactly. It's like a
it'll
parking lot.
skinny up at points where there are landscape islands between them, where it's just the drive
Right.
aisle connection.
Pretty much this whole area.
So 20 years down the road, when Tony doesn't want to own these, you've
Right,
got
and
a
they
parking
sell
lot
them.
in the backyard,
Yeah.
not 5 houses.
My understanding, he's got, I don't know.
I was gonna, I'm looking
Yeah,
over your
me
shoulder to
too.
Ben.
I'm
Zoning,
trying-
yeah, we,
Gave me a heart attack with that stormwater, man.
well,
Right, that
that was
too,
my next
Drake.
question,
Like,
is we
yeah.
now have a
Does
huge
that fall into your
runoff zone.
category?
That's mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know you talked to Kate, but don't do that again.
yeah, my understanding is he talked to, I don't know what,
Yeah, he talked to my predecessor and she bought off on it.
so. It is, and it is also, I think, less than 5,000 square feet.
So are
That
we
is
able
section.
to
Connect
say
all the
they
way
need
through.
to be divided, like they're separate? Because that takes away from the historic
I
look.
agree.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
So,
Maybe
so are
it's
you
been
thinking
done,
so-
but-
the
Yeah.
sections that share a driveway could be attached and then the rest that don't share driveways need to be divided? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Well, that's, the thing, the two drives are narrow.
Right.
And then as you go further away from downtown, there aren't
Yeah.
really, there's not, it's a retaining wall down to the backyard.
Right, but we're saying rather than them all connecting, just because the current owner owns all of them, only the two that share a driveway connect, then do some sort of divider between, thinking beyond.
There's not
this-
access.
Well, you could use a little of the driveway to make a,
He's saying you come down.
I mean,
drive
basically,
around,
that's
go
what it
up.
is right now, is where they connect, it just narrows down to
well,
just the
it didn't
driveway.
used to all be
Right, it was
parking
all-
lot, so
Yeah, no, I
there's
understand. I
no reason
understand.
it would have to be
So
that,
Casey, right now,
to live there.
this is a driveway.
That's a drive,
I think he's
and
saying
then
that you
in the
could
shadow there is a
And
second
there's a
drive.
driveway here.
split
Yeah,
out
and there's
that.
technically a drive
I don't believe it.
there, you can see the apron, but I think there's maybe 8 to 9 feet between the houses.
So a car could get down,
Technically, a car could get down.
but then none here.
None
and
that's,
none there.
yeah, correct.
I mean, that's what on-street
So your
parking is
plan
for,
is to
like.
pave this, I guess I'm asking Ben, so has zoning approved paving that whole
So
thing?
zoning doesn't really, we don't really care, because technically it is residential. Each lot's individual, we've got lot lines running through it. We don't regulate where concrete goes, across lot lines. I mean, we all know Tony's a commercial builder, but they aren't technically residential.
Yeah.
So, for residential parking, we really don't care.
But I feel like our job in historic preservation is to preserve, like, the residential,
difference.
That's the
historic
camp
There's a
idea.
difference
feel.
for us, yeah.
Right, so,
I struggled when I saw it, just,
right.
in my opinion, it was one slab across 4 or 5 houses.
I mean, that would never happen. I'm a block up from that, and that would never be allowed, so.
Right, I don't
You know,
think,
so.
I object
It looks like the back
to
of an
that.
apartment complex. I realize that the
Yeah.
houses aren't, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what the parking looks like.
Of course, that's what the houses are.
And I guess by that photo,
Apartment.
this has already been installed.
How many units? Oh, sorry.
That's been installed, and that's out of that's its own separate parcel, and it's out of the historic district.
Now, scroll down to the next picture.
He's installed it.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes.
Approximately up to here was the last that I saw. I don't know if he stopped
I
work or if
haven't-
he kept going.
Yeah.
So where has it been in?
I haven't been, that's my understanding is it's been installed to there, but it may have,
Can you scroll down?
So,
So currently,
that's-
where there's no driveway access is where it's been installed.
where it's been, yeah, he's worked backwards.
That's-
And
so
was
you,
that
it started at the top of the
here?
hill and it's
Yeah.
coming down.
No,
So scroll back up here.
This is a
So
angle
this
object.
has been installed here,
Mm-hmm.
and it hasn't been installed here?
Not.
Well,
They
I'm
know
not
what they're doing.
100% on that.
They know
It's
what they're
been,
doing.
Yeah,
They're-
they-
maybe a week or two since I've been out there.
Say that again, I didn't hear.
I said I'm not sure if he's installed anymore. It's been a week or two since I've been out there.
Okay.
So
But if
I
it
mean, in
says-
hindsight, it would have been, what would have been nice is if this would have all been the, grass pave,
Okay, yeah.
so that water could go through. I'm really anxious about how much
Yeah.
water is gonna go down that hill and what kind of erosion is gonna happen and eat the back of your parking lot and undermine it. I mean, it's a stink load of, I wouldn't wanna,
leave the
I mean, this
people
is,
down there.
it's all sloping downhill here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where is all the water that gets, I
Well, it's
mean, there's a
those-
curb along there.
Yeah, he's,
Where's the water going through this guy's house?
no, if you go back to the picture of what he takes, so there is a curve there, and he's got it sloped too, but you can't, I think it's behind.
So it looks like
But
the
there's
low
a-
point
he's
is
got-
right there. So if you get all this water and all of that water coming to one point,
Yeah, but it's mostly coming straight down, and he's got,
So concrete has been installed that hasn't been approved.
Yes.
Looks that way.
Casey, you gotta get him to slow down sometime.
I'm
and be
trying.
here- And be here.
Well, I
yeah.
struggle because it's in the first one.
Right,
He's been
that's-
coming here since I've been coming here.
Well, we know. We can
Seems
slow
the
them down. by
forgiveness over
saying it.
permission is the preferred
Yeah,
route.
that's, I think we're rewarding that by the after the fact
Yeah.
approval,
Yeah.
so I object to what's been done and for the concrete and what they're proposing for the rest. It's not a benefit to the historic district to have that.
Well, I guess the biggest thing that I'm anxious about is, several of you brought up that, yes, right now, there's one owner
Right.
of 6 contiguous houses, but down the road,
Yeah.
there could be letting go of, and suddenly, if I'm gonna now use the parking lot behind my house, I've got to have an easement from 4 houses down the street to get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that seems to be not only a historic district issue, but a zoning issue. I mean, how Ben would that, down the road, if these well, right now, they're actually individually owned, aren't they?
By the same LLC, I believe.
Yeah, they're separate parcels.
But they're still
They're
separate
separate
parcels. They
parcels,
haven't
yes.
been conjoined by
No.
record. So right now, they are individual parcels. And I guess as their one owner, that one owner is ceding easement because they own
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah. And he could, I mean, he could, if he chose to sell them off, give the easement to whichever parts of, as.
Well, as the
owning all
seller,
of them.
he could make
Yeah.
that to be a part of his sale.
Mhm.
We
You must
can
accept.
say, yeah, but.
I mean, he could say, I'm selling you this house, but you have to allow an easement to that house.
Right, but that would be outside of our.
So, I hear everything you're saying, but it's also, if you look at the guidelines, concrete in rear yards as or as parking areas is generally what?
Not a
Well,
parking
Normally, we're
lot.
looking at one house at a time.
Yeah,
When we're talking
yeah.
about adding parking to a yard.
So if
Right.
if you go back to the so the 429, which is the red roof, and 439,
Just 2 up.
which is just 2 of them, have that one drive. And then there's the next 3. So if he stopped, since it hasn't been, as far as I know, hasn't been paved, if he stopped between had a gap that brought it down, and then it was just the 2 that don't have access, and we narrow it down as much as possible between the houses to just have, access, and then put back in behind, put a fence or landscape screening down in the gap between the houses to screen it from the street. Could we make something?
Can we ask Eve can we not approve the parking and ask for a detailed plan for the whole
I
thing to
support
come
that,
back,
yes.
you know?
So there's a driveway there,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so those are the 2
and a driveway there.
on each side of that. And the third one, that's the one that, I mean, you can see that car is like barely in there, and it gets pretty.
So there's no driveway going down.
There is a driveway going down there, it's just
Just narrow.
super narrow.
Narrow and steep.
Narrow and steep, and then that's probably a 10-foot retaining wall
Yeah.
on that's right on the
But I
side
think
there.
Rivermont is known for on-street.
And if some of these units are approved to have parking in the back, there's gonna be loads of street parking available, right? So,
Right.
You know, and,
I don't think
How many
that's a
units are in
reason
each
to
house?
do concrete.
Casey?
Right.
Between, so like the last house that we're gonna talk about is 2, which is the smallest, and then I think the two 441 and 447 are each 6. So some are 3, 5, 6. But he's all between the few on Blackford. There are 3 in each of those, and then there's 14 in the old theater, 14 or 15. And there's the parking lot.
that's a lot there's 14 units in that theater?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. That's a lot.
and then there's 14 in the old garage.
And then the building next to the bridge has
Old college?
A lot.
30.
Yeah.
I think it's 30. That's
Yeah.
going way back into the memory bank. I think it's 30.
And then eventually the whatever, I can't remember the name of the big building.
Piedmont College? The one on the
What?
corner?
Yeah, the one on
The one
corner.
that Nancy Marion used to
Marion's
own.
building?
Yeah, he's got that one probably eventually, but there's some decently long leases in there. So that'll be.
Is there gonna be enough parking?
Well, honestly, that's part of it is his,
neighborhood.
like, he's seeing as people are moving into the other ones, the on-street parking is sort of, which is, it's great, right? Like, instead of it being an empty swath of,
Yeah, with the construction workers and the residents,
Mhm.
I come by there every morning,
Yeah,
every
yeah.
afternoon, and it is jammy packed
Yeah.
with cars and people walking
Yeah.
across the street
Yeah.
and stuff. It's getting denser and denser.
yeah.
So I guess all said, parking behind is,
It's needed, probably.
I mean, let's face it, when these houses were originally built, there was one car at each house.
Mhm.
Because each family had one, each house was a family and each family had one car. So a little different world.
But I do think the amount of units we're talking about is, I feel like it isn't our role in historic
Yeah, we
preservation
can't-
to work, like like there's been people who've come in doing projects for
Yep, yep.
other, and it's hurt my heart. We've said no to certain things and they're just trying to find housing for families, but I feel like
Yeah.
it's an obligation that we, don't have this giant parking lot
Yeah.
regardless of.
Well,
the
I guess 2 things. If zoning has been talked to and approved it, we can't say what zoning said 3 years ago is,
Well, technically you can, I mean, because I looked at it from the standpoint of zoning, not necessarily.
Historic.
Yeah, so if you guys go and say, hey, he's got to
It's a
rip out every
different,
bit of
really
that
set of
concrete, I'll show up at his door tomorrow morning with a notice of violation that he's got to rip out all the concrete. So-
but we, as the HPC, as Casey made the point, HPC guidelines say you can have concrete parking behind your house.
But I think where our concern is lying is that this is multiple all being joined together, which is not what we've
A
approved.
parking
And I'm gonna play
Right.
devil's advocate.
Yeah.
There is no word in here that says I can't pave my backyard property line to property line.
That's true, but there's nothing that says I have to approve it either.
But you gotta have something that say you can't approve it.
Why? What do you mean I have to have something?
I mean, there's nothing in the guidelines that says I, Mr. Property Owner, can not concrete my entire backyard. If the previous owner said, I wanna pave my backyard, house to property line to property line, could we say no?
I think there's a level of subjectivity, as there is with colors, as there is with position of vinyl windows, as there is with lots of things. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
And I will say, I think too, it's a factor of like, these are individual homes, and so I would be more in favor of approving the ones with driveways to have the two parking sections per shared driveway. And not the ones, not paving the whole backyards of the ones that don't have any access at all, that are fully reliant on other driveways. Because like those are, if we're looking at it unit by unit, which is how it's, it's what, we're looking at 429 right now's
Right.
application. So if we go unit by unit, how it's submitted, then, I don't know that we should be grouping it all together
Right.
as one lot.
I do think it should be
So,
one by
so
one.
because the next ones are coming right down the road.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
let's
And that's,
think-
and based on what you just said, that's.
Yeah, let's
because it
think
has to be
through
lot
that.
by lot.
So,
Sure.
the
That's
one
how
that's
we-
on the screen right now, for 2 parking spaces off of the driveway, we have approved parking spaces behind houses off of driveways before. So, we would in theory do that. And the next one is going to have a driveway with access behind it, and it could do it. And, so we get this, go back, Eve, to the big, yeah. So we've got a driveway and 2 parking spaces. In theory, we would approve. We've got a driveway with some parking spaces. In theory, we would approve. If this
Well,
one comes.
if I may, I don't know that I would improve unlimited parking spaces behind it. I don't know the count there, but 8 or 10, I don't know if I.
He's only gonna get a couple right there.
Yeah, it's basically one drive and then.
But isn't it coming all the way across the back and connecting to the next one?
Well, there's just the 2 that we're looking at in this application right there.
Right.
And a driveway.
Right.
And then this is gonna come in and have some. And this driveway, in theory, will give you some, and potentially could have a couple here. But here, with no driveways, if we're saying, okay, this one, and, these have no access to the backyard, so how do we approve a parking space that has no access in the parcel that's there?
We're saying we
We say,
would.
I wouldn't, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I guess where I'm kind of headed is, let's deal with this one that has 2 parking spaces. And then we look at the next one and we take it
Go
as
from
an
there.
individual house
Okay.
and see how we address the parking. And then we'll walk our way up the hill with the applications.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think so. And if you scroll up to the picture with just the 2 parking spots, there's a lot more green happening in that, in that picture. The tree, I mean, I don't know, is that tree still there, or is that ripped down
That's,
already?
I honestly don't know if that tree is still there or not.
So I think
Uh,
this,
yeah,
that
yeah,
to
no,
me,
it's- yeah, probably.
so this application to me looks
Wait,
like
wait,
there
wait.
is more of a yard, there's more yard space available. The parking is not taking up the whole yard, is how it looks on here now. That may not be how it is now, but.
So this one in particular, 429, will have a significant amount of yard still on roads. Right now, it's a construction zone, but that side yard will all be replanted, and it will just be 2 pulling spaces off. This backyard will by far have the least, until we get to the last one, which is not connected.
And then I think that kind of comes to your point about asking maybe for a little more of
Yeah.
a plan, like, because it's feeling like it's one giant parking
Okay.
lot, and if that is the case, I feel like we were concerned. If
Yeah.
it's not, it maybe would feel more fitting to the district.
Okay. Yeah.
Is the house that's down the hill in the historic district?
Which, no, those on Blackford are not.
Okay.
We
And the-
checked.
And the retaining wall went through you all, Ben, and?
It,
It did not.
which, so just to,
Go back to the picture, you were, that retaining wall?
that retaining wall looks a lot bigger than it actually is.
But it's there, right?
It's there.
I'm 6'4", and that's a.
Is it taller
pretty
than you
big
there?
wall.
Oh,
Okay.
gosh.
How did it get built if it didn't go through?
The
A
way
building
that we
permit?
found out about all of this was one of my inspectors just happened to be driving by and noticed some mud tracking, and then he went down there and found a concrete playground, so.
Wow.
So the retaining wall was built without a building permit?
And it's staying?
I think we got some more things to figure out before we talk about
Wait, wait,
parking.
wait.
Yeah.
I would like
Yeah.
to just not approve any parking for any of these.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I
And
guess
then-
what what is the city, what is,
That's a building official question. All I approve on the zoning end of things is where it can go. I'll be honest with you, since starting the new stormwater job, I haven't had the capacity to deal with stuff like this. I've got a,
okay.
40-acre site that's got EPA problems, so, if you want me to take a look at this one harder, I'm more than happy to do it.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Well, I guess, I've made a motion that dealt with everything,
Except-
and actually, my motion had approved the 2 parking
I
spaces.
think we removed.
We gotta get back to windows, yeah, you're right.
Maybe
So
withdraw
I
the
would ask
motion.
you to amend your motion because it didn't have a second.
And we haven't gotten to,
Yeah.
for the window.
Yeah,
So it hasn't approved a second, so you
Yeah.
just let it die?
Yeah,
Okay.
For
So
one
let's,
of us.
let's, before we go to that,
For one.
windows, Casey, you said most of the windows are good and in
There,
place?
I mean, there'll be some replacement. I mean, he's been just, pulling out the sashes, replacing the bad wood, with new, sort of rebuilding everything, and they're all just one over ones. I think there are a couple in the back that are sort of tend to be the basement in the back that.
Okay, so may I start a new motion,
Yes,
Madam Chair,
please.
now that the old one is gone?
Okay.
Starting from the top, I would move to approve the standing seam metal roof, replacing the fish scale shingles on the gabled sections with color to match existing as close as possible. Keeping the cupola metal existing in place, repairing the finials. The metal roof will have a crimped ridge as opposed to a large cap. Approve the paint scheme as submitted, noting that the sashes should be a complementary color, and asking that the gable and cupola top be as bright as possible, given your color scheme.
Yep.
And that existing windows on all street-facing elevations are repaired, have existing materials repaired and kept in place. If windows on the rear are beyond repair, they can be replaced with aluminum clad.
and the side as well.
And the side as well, yes. Did I cover everything
I think so.
in that part?
Yeah, yeah. Is there a second?
I have a question, if I may,
Yeah.
but I don't know
Yes.
if it's on the right application. I'm on page 7 of this one, and it looks like there's a picture of a window in back, that is resized on the left. I'm sorry?
Yeah, so so right where Eve's mouse is, there is the, that's the
Okay.
feeder, and then that little thing that's hanging out, that's this.
Gotcha.
Yeah, these
Okay,
are-
thank you, sorry.
Okay. So we
Yeah,
need
we'll
a
get to that.
second.
Go through with a fine tooth comb.
Just making sure.
Is that,
There's a lot of scope. I'm good. Yeah, sir.
I need a second, so,
I'll second.
okay. Does everybody understand and ready to vote?
so it is not addressing the parking space?
Right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So I think we need a motion to disapprove or not approve. Is that right, Eve? Or-
Well, do you want to deny it, or do you want to table it for a plan that addresses
Okay,
your concern?
Table.
Let's table this one and work through the next couple and get our head wrapped around each one.
I'm good
And
with
at that point in time, we may want to come back with one big motion for the five.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about 6 houses, but the parking only is relevant.
Yeah.
For 5 of them.
Okay.
So let's leave parking until the, yeah.
Okay.
Does that work?
Do we need a motion to table this?
Well, if you're gonna discuss it and make one big motion, I think that's okay.
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 All right. Moving right along.
5 more to go.
Okay.
Stretch breaks.
So 433.
Yes. So largely this is related to the parking, and then similarly to, I'm gonna mix up which one it is. Last time we were here, you guys approved replacing rotten wood siding on the sides and rear on one of the houses. This one, where you see you can see obviously the building wrap, and then there's the sort of tannish brown fiber cement. Tony started similarly, took that, some of the wood was rotten. So the wood is staying on the front and on the front of the sides, and then he started replacing to match with fiber cement, same exposure. It'll all be painted the same. All so like the windows that are missing sashes, he's when I took this picture, he's in the middle of repairing them. So those are the historic windows. They're being repaired. They'll go back. And those 6/6s are what was there.
So this one is replacing the damaged beyond repair wood siding with fiber cement.
Yes.
And-
Same exposure on the sides and rear.
And do we have a color scheme for this one?
This is one that you guys approved 2 months ago.
Yeah.
This is one of the bright ones.
And what in terms, and what
For
in,
what
ter-
it's worth.
and what in terms of parking is on this application?
So this one is,
Yeah, there we go.
yeah, and I sort of, you can clearly see the concrete drive on the right, and you couldn't really see the existing on the left.
But you're saying the one going up the hill on the left will be a drive as well?
It's an existing drive just because of the shadows and everything, you couldn't really see it, so I overlaid.
I'm ready to be the
Yeah. Go for it,
So
Tracy.
if we were looking at it individually, I feel like if we didn't know anything about all the other, it would be a lot to say that many spaces. It would feel like a parking lot. So to the kind of point of considering it one by one, I feel like it would seem extreme to say that. But I'll let other people jump in.
Yeah, well, I think all the parking that we need to look at as a whole, and just not approve any parking today. That's my feeling, so.
So I'd make a motion to approve the siding replacement as submitted, period.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, all right. Okay, 439.
So, same parking conversation, and then there were a couple of the rear windows on this one that you can see it's the ground level where not the bottom, but the second one up. There's a kitchen inside, and so Tony went in and put a new changed resized it just to be, and then just infilled it with a couple pieces of siding. And I believe the basement windows on this were just gone, and so he replaced those with 1/1.
So,
And actually, Eve, can you zoom in on that? I'm trying to keep all these straight. Go up to the top level.
Oop. Hold on.
Yeah, I believe the two, actually, those are, yeah, you can see the Pella sticker. The top level are replacement windows. The mutton pattern matches the wood on the sides and front, that were repaired.
And so this application is about,
It's the parking, and then Tony had gone and replaced some of the windows on the back.
So it's asking for after the fact approval.
But it's all of the replacements are on the back side, and they're
So-
aluminum clad, and
On what is the middle level there? I think it's
Yes.
the ground floor. If I look at the part that's protruding out, where you can kind of see the right
those
profile.
those windows are repaired, or they're the original windows.
Right, and that's where my question's going. It looks like there's a pane down the center of them, like they're 2/2, at least right there.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yes.
Or is that
Well,
like
it might be.
it might be 1/1.
Let me see if I have a
Difficult
better
to tell, that's why I was
picture.
asking.
Actually, Eve, if you go back to that picture of showing the parking,
Yeah,
you might be
I'll
able to see
see.
those.
Oh, I didn't put it in this one.
Sorry.
What are our guidelines on rear match original design? Right. Okay.
Generally speaking, we have more leeway.
I think we have approved resizing it in the back before,
Yeah, you
specifically for
can't tell there
kitchens.
either.
Of course
Let me see if I have a better one.
Okay.
It looks
Right
Were the
on.
first level
me, it
windows
looks
all
strange.
resized?
No, he only resized the one.
The one in the, okay.
The one in the
'Cause
kitchen.
they're-
No,
they're
those
smaller,
are,
so I wasn't sure
it's
if
the
they-
basement level, so they were smaller.
Okay.
And they,
Okay.
those I believe are replacement windows, but they were there.
Yeah, it was
Um,
the same size.
And,
as
and
mine.
so the new replacements are the ones up on the second floor,
Okay.
but they match the mutton patterns. The side, even if they are 2/2, they're just the old windows repaired. It's just the sort of the resized one and then the two upstairs.
As you noted, we've approved resize
Yeah,
for things on
that's
the
what
back.
we
So
were saying.
to keep things moving,
Yeah.
I've moved to approve the resized window on 439
And
as
the-
submitted.
And the other replacements.
And the other the two at the top.
I'll second.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. 441.
No, 33?
No, we did 33.
We've done
Oh,
430.
okay, I'm sorry.
441.
Hello. Out of sequence. Thank you.
Okay.
So this one, the parking, and then there are a couple rear windows and doors that were replaced, and I believe, had mentioned repairing the deck in the last submittal, and it was just, it was super tall and rotten. This one, I believe, is basically installed it to the same spot that it was in the previous. But, no. I say that because when we get
we're
to,
teasing her.
because when we get to next
I was
door.
gonna see if I had a picture of the before, but.
Yeah. So basically, that upper level deck had trap doors
Oh, no.
to a staircase
How fun though.
within those posts. So the lower, the overall footprint of the decks is the same. The lower deck wasn't there. It was just the stairs coming down from those trap doors. And so when he rebuilt it, both to stabilize those super tall posts, filled in that lower
Is this
floor.
the one that had two separate?
No, that's the next one. That's why I said this, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And so this deck is essentially back where it was. It just, he infilled the
Slight configuration.
slightly different configuration and added the stairs down the side, but it's all contained behind.
Is there like a zoning thing on the stairs or like that's just doesn't matter on your end? Yeah, okay.
And then these are the windows that you had noticed before. The basement was very stepped, and so he went in and reframed the first floor. So you walk in low, and then there are steps up inside, and he raised the floor, which is why he installed those smaller windows in those openings.
And he, I don't know the right vocabulary, changed.
And that's not a painted finished color. Not that changes anything on the yellow siding, that's just the primed way it comes.
The doorways were arched and now they're square.
I believe they had like a little flat, can you?
Yeah.
But that's honestly, so that flat arch typically, the door is still square, and that's just trim work in that flat arch. That'll be painted, so
But they're maybe wider now. I think that's what makes it look a little strange, because they were narrower.
they probably were a little narrower,
Yeah.
yeah.
They've been cut out and made
So
wider.
both of the arches have been cut.
Mhm.
And I'd have to go back and look and see.
It's pretty clear.
No, I'm not debating, I'm just whether that was the way
Yeah,
it was, or if it's.
the arch, the spring point of the arch is inside the edge of the door.
What are?
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying, I'd have to go back and see if I have anything documenting if that's something that is new, or if that was how it had already been done.
And the decks, I think, are probably similar in design to what was taken down.
Yes.
I'm fairly certain those were put up when it was not a historic district or without approval. So where I'm going is, if you would come to me with, this is what we want to build on a historic house, that in no way resembles something historic. It looks like new construction, in my opinion.
I'm trying to see if I had.
Yeah, so that's
yeah.
what was there.
Doesn't really show the doors or windows.
It seems clear it was done.
You can see though the stairs coming down there within that zone.
Let's see.
So we're supposed to approve what this is?
Yeah.
As an after the fact approval?
I feel like I'm being beat into submission.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
I do. You want the truth?
Yeah.
Everything's after the fact.
Yeah, forgiveness versus permission.
I think, because we did, parking aside, let's just say that's a separate conversation. It's not, the rest of these, like we did say we were doing repair of the decks, and which might include complete replacement in kind in the initial submittal.
But that's
but
not
that's
really in kind.
different
Doesn't look
than this,
anything
yeah.
like it. Didn't
I mean,
it?
I don't think that's, I mean, it's not like the previous presentation. You have to, like, it's not finished, so it will be painted. And so it will blend in more than it does at this moment. And the extent, the footprint of it is the same. And
Would you go back to that, Eve?
Yeah.
'Cause it
And the
sure
roof is
doesn't
the same
look
as what
same to
was-
me. To
And
the way it
original-
was.
Oh.
Yeah,
With the
please,
stairs.
with the stairs, yeah.
So, and can you toggle one more time for us?
So it looks more like a screen porch to me on that,
Oh, thank
top,
you.
more than a deck. Was it a
I think it just
screen
randomly
porch?
had that weird, no, honestly, I looked through
There's
the
a
window.
dividing
I just-
wall in between the two units.
Yeah, there's a wall, a
Oh,
privacy wall
yeah,
between the
okay.
two, yeah.
And maybe is it just perception, or is the overhang in the original maybe is a little wider, that maybe that's what gives it that narrow feel of the new one? I'm wondering, maybe.
And it might just be the perspective of the photos too,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, the angle is different.
Sure.
Well, it looks like new construction, you know, really, at that top. So, and it is.
Yeah, it's, the deck that was there was.
So in
not-
what color will it be painted?
I believe this one, the paint scheme is, it's like the body of the upper two floors is a light blue and then white trim, because this is listed as this is one, the color scheme on this one was administratively approved.
Okay.
So it'd be like a white,
The deck would be white.
oh, yeah, the deck would be white to match the rest of the trim.
So is there a motion? And it has to do with windows, doors, and the deck.
So for the doors, I know we had discussed the not fitting into the arch. What do the actual doors look like?
You can see they have just small.
So two different kinds of doors?
No, the one on the left,
Yes.
the door's open, you're seeing framing inside.
Right, okay,
It's the
okay.
same door.
So it's the same type of door?
They just
Okay.
open it, yeah.
That looks like a craftsman door. But I don't know if we're gonna die on that hill today or not.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the widening. I mean, I imagine maybe you needed to for zoning of units, but for historic, it's.
I'd have to go
I
back and
mean-
find out whether, because typically that's not, because you can get the narrower doors, typically Tony wouldn't just go widen it for, so I have a feeling it was, somebody had widened it in the past, and so he went back in the existing opening.
And then
Because also
painted
like
it
that
and
white
just left it
repointing
fresh wood.
around it is not what he's typically doing on the.
So your argument is the opening is
I believe so.
Prior
From-
to.
But on it.
From
it's-
pre-Tony?
I'm not, yeah, I believe the widening is pre-Tony. But that's just a gut feeling, not.
Well, that's the trouble with after the fact. It's like we have no
Yeah.
point of reference. We really don't have an opportunity to make a more educated decision
Informed.
because
And I can go and take better pictures where part of it too is I think if he had done the widening, you would see a lot clearer re-pointing of the
Yeah.
jam between the two doors. So I think I could probably go take closer up pictures that show that was.
It's really neither here nor there whether he did it or not. I mean, I think when we're looking at the list of all the things that we now have to approve or deny because they were already done, it's just a little bit frustrating. I think I can speak for everyone in that, because if he had brought these doors to us, whether he did the repointing or not, I think we would have encouraged him in the direction of going with the historically appropriate size door and fixing the point, the
Okay.
brickwork. And so it's like now
And
we're
appro-
robbed of that opportunity to help him make the right decision.
an appropriate
So-
style of door.
Correct.
Well, we don't have to approve the doors.
Right.
Correct.
And we didn't several meetings
Yeah.
ago approve doors and, so. And we
Jump
don't
again?
really know what the door looks like.
Yeah.
I'd move to disapprove the doors, requesting more information as to their original configuration and the door type. To disapprove the windows resizing because the infill is not appropriate in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Because that's my first one.
Yeah, okay.
What about the deck? I'm gonna do doors and windows first.
Okay.
So that's,
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The deck.
Or like you want to talk about the deck?
Could I ask you, what would you, what would be different, what would have you wanted to see different? What would you like, or what do you feel like you approve versus what you see there? Or we didn't approve it at all?
It was administratively approved as
In kind.
repaired in kind. And
Okay.
so it's not 100% in kind, but there's
So the-
definitely elements of it that are.
the pickets and the railing
Sorry.
don't match the front porch at all. So if you're going in kind, they should match the front porch.
But I believe they match, the old pickets were,
Right, it's
Sure.
in kind to the
To the
the
deck.
but it's in
previous
kind to
rear
what
deck.
was there.
The top rail looks like it's a 2x4,
Right,
and that's not a 2x4 over there. That's a
Okay,
element.
yeah.
I guess those are 2x2s. They're much tighter, closer.
Right.
Okay,
I mean, I know this meets code.
yeah.
You know, the magic ball to go through, but in terms of historical accuracy, if you're approving in kind,
Yeah.
it's not.
and maybe they just haven't got there yet. Does there need to be a gutter and downspout on it?
That's just not, hasn't gotten.
Okay.
Yeah.
But even that trim at the fascia, I mean, you can see the level of detail on the original
And
versus
again, I
just.
don't think that's finished. This was,
And I don't know if is the metal on the roof in place already? I mean, it doesn't look like there's even an overhang of,
That's what I feel like makes a big difference
Yeah.
is the ceiling, and I don't know if that's significantly more narrow or not. Like we said, perspective could be tricky, but if it's in kind, it does feel like it is a lot more narrow, but it could be that
when,
angle.
I'm just to understand, when you say more narrow,
the depth of the deck.
Yeah, I think.
out from the
Yeah.
new, you think the new deck is more
I don't know.
narrower.
just the way, that's
Yeah,
how you
I'm
see it.
wondering, or
Okay.
like, I feel like it mainly is catching my eye with the roof,
Yeah.
but
I
maybe
believe
it's the
it's
shape.
Like the
the
posts are
same.
basically back where they were.
Yeah, gotcha.
Maybe, plus or minus a couple inches.
Being a cynic, my guess is it's been pushed in so that the parking lot works.
Could be bigger, right? I thought the same.
I don't mind going and measuring it and doing my best to find.
So am I hearing a disapproval on the
Yeah.
deck?
Yeah. I
Somebody-
think everybody's so
I'm not in
happy.
favor.
with
Somebody
the
want to make
deck.
that motion, so I don't make them all?
I'm not supposed to make motions, so, but, would you like to make it, Julie? Just,
For the deck,
yeah.
I'll make a motion to disapprove the deck.
Okay, is there a second?
So,
Okay. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Okay. All right. Last one, 447.
Second to last one.
Oh,
But I promise the last one's.
Oh, okay,
easy.
that's just number 5, okay.
Compared.
447.
So
Take-
this is same parking conversation. This one and the last one are very, very similar. They were originally two duplexes. This one, this is the one that you guys approved all the new siding last time, except for the front. And the windows are 2/2, and all of the windows on the side and the top level and the two in the upper porch are the repaired windows. The 2 basement windows on that back are new, and the 4 doors are new. And this one, when he rebuilt the deck, he built it as one connected deck, and it was 2 separate decks originally that were, again, just like, there was no way to repair them.
And what was approved for the decks previously?
Basically, to repair, replace in kind was
In kind.
what was.
Oh.
How do we get from in kind to all the way across the back?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
I just
Yeah,
don't understand that.
I'm not
How we
sure
get lost
what
in that
the- yeah.
translation.
Yeah,
Creative liberties.
It's more than that. It's just
yeah.
a little bit.
blatant disregard.
That's how I feel.
So number 1, the deck, I feel like we can, I mean, I think that's a disapprove. That's pretty clear to me. I don't know, does anyone else have any thoughts about that?
I agree with you.
Okay. What's the second item? Place rear doors. Doors are the same as the last house?
They're actually different on this. These are half light on the. They're half light
That's the same.
upstairs,
Okay,
and
half
then
light upstairs, craftsman downstairs.
Yes,
Okay, and
Was there a sale or what?
probably.
Or just a scratch in it.
it's still, the half lights still don't even feel right for that house
Yeah.
though, so.
Yeah, and I feel like to be fair to owners who come and their door's rotting out and they need to replace, and they're like, but I can get this one so much less, and we have to say no, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel right to say, you know, our job is to uphold the
To be-
guidelines.
To be fair
Right.
to everybody.
I understand that.
Install new rear windows.
Which are, and the 2, it's just the 2 basement level windows.
Just the 2 basement level
The rest of
windows.
those windows are
Okay.
the
And
historic.
Were they originally 1/1?
I believe the basement,
Yeah.
no, they're 2, no, sorry, they're 2/2. They're, yeah, you can see that one there.
And so they weren't approved to be changed either? You're asking for approval now?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I guess
Was
to
that
start
turned
right
into a-
now-
That window turned into a door, and
And
there
there
was no
have been
window.
2 new windows cut.
There are
in the
2,
middle.
yes.
This
the-
is not, this is like a,
Yeah.
you might as well start it from the ground,
What?
like.
Yeah.
This
So
is
those are
nuts.
2 new windows in the middle and 2 new doors on the side that used to be windows.
No, there's
That-
one, that door is existing, it's
door.
ported
That door
over.
was a
There's a
door?
door,
With a
so 2
stair.
windows have been added, one has
And
been
I'm sure
turned
there
into a
was
door.
2 doors
So
up
an
here.
in-kind deck was approved and nothing else, and we got a totally different deck and a bunch of new windows and doors?
Yeah.
The 2 totally new deck, and then the doors on the second floor are new, but they're where there were doors.
Mhm.
And then the 1 door in the basement is new, but where it was, and the 2 windows and the other door
Mhm.
are.
So the new door frame, is that like a code thing that there had to be a door there, or what's the situation with that?
It's a separate apartment now, so.
So is that the only entrance to that apartment?
No, this one is all access through the
Okay.
stair hall.
So is there a requirement for the door, is what I'm asking? Like, by code?
No, but it's an amenity to
It's
give
a- yeah, to use
To the
the
back,
back.
sure,
the
yeah,
port-
okay.
the apartment a deck.
And
Yeah.
it is a code, there's no way to build that deck with posts that tall to get all the way to the second floor and skipping the basement level.
I think, you know, it's just that it needs to be approved, like the benefit of purchasing a home in the historic district. There are benefits to that and also obligations, and it
Mhm.
feels that they are being disregarded, whether
Disregarded, really.
for whatever reason, maybe doesn't matter, but yeah. It's,
I mean, it just feels like the deck was asked for in-kind approval, knowing full well you were gonna put a door on that floor. So it was like, what was even the point of asking for an in-kind deck if like.
Well, you've already made a motion to
Yeah.
disapprove the deck.
Yeah, so deck's
It
done.
wasn't built in kind.
Right.
If it's put back in kind, if you go back to the picture of the original, there was no deck at that lower level.
So are we saying?
Now, I wouldn't, if that wanted to be a smaller deck underneath the upper deck, I don't think I'd gain down that hill.
Sure.
And so if that window could need to become a door, I'd probably be all right with that. I'd probably be all right with the 2 new windows. They're on the back. They're making I think the deck, like you said, should be smaller, like in kind, to use that vocabulary, and, you know, what was approved, so in kind should happen. But again, I could see the smaller deck to the left being, also having a smaller element at the bottom. I'd probably approve the windows. The doors are inappropriate, wrong style completely, all 4. I guess the 2 new windows, since they're 2 new, if we want to let them just be 1/1s as opposed to 2/2s, not, again, not a hill to die on.
Yeah. So is there a motion?
The roof on what we're looking at here, it has no soffit like the previous roof. Or maybe it's not
It's just
finished, and so I'm not
mid-construction.
seeing
It's
it.
just mid-construction,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm struggling.
It does.
So is there a motion to approve the windows and not approve the doors and the deck?
I'd move to approve the 2 new windows on the rear as installed, and the door openings as placed, but the doors themselves disapproved because of wrong style to match the house.
On all 4.
All 4
On all 4
doors.
doors.
And the deck?
We already did the deck.
We didn't
No.
vote that.
No, we
We
didn't.
didn't vote, so it needs to be
Oh,
part of
I'm
one
sorry,
motion, yeah.
we're packaging
We were just
that?
going one by one. and-
Okay,
Yeah.
well, you started that motion.
Oh,
You did.
no,
you
you keep
you
going, just
started-
say no deck.
Okay, and the deck to be reworked to match the in-kind previous approval.
Yeah.
With the allowance of the
With
first
the
floor
allowance of
deck
the-
addition.
Yeah, the
Because
small.
of support and
The to the
whatever else.
left deck have a smaller lower level to support the door.
And does there need to be additional guidance to avoid confusion on the projects? Like, as to what? I mean, I wonder that, like, because it feels like maybe there's confusion as to what the historic,
Yeah,
what in-kind means, or, and then are we gonna face it on multiple
No,
homes?
no, plain and simple,
Yeah.
before it's built.
yeah, no, yes,
Because
and that was.
quite bluntly, Casey, the consistent comeback for approval after the fact
Yeah.
is worn out, period.
I understand
Yeah.
that.
I mean,
It's been from the first project all the way up the hill. Every one has been after the fact, over and over again.
And Tony West knows.
It ain't like,
Not his first rodeo.
I try and flip that point.
okay, so that's this one. Is there anything else on
Okay,
that?
is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed. All right. Last one, 455.
Do we want to address the parking before we move on to 455?
Yeah, the last one doesn't.
Because
There's a house in between.
yeah, the last
so
one
it
is
doesn't.
separated.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to deny the parking and ask for Mr. West to come and
I don't care if
explain?
he's, I would make a motion to disapprove all the parking behind the buildings and request that a reviewed by zoning submittal before it gets to us, that it goes through zoning for appropriate materials, stormwater, et cetera,
Okay.
review.
Including
Yeah, that's good.
including the wall.
Well, the
Well,
wall is
let's-
We
already.
not do anything about that.
That's outside of the
I-
district.
That's outside our purview, I think. I don't think we can say anything about that. If when the parking comes in, somebody suddenly says, wait a minute, that's
Right.
not us.
Okay.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's
And
great.
I would, there's clearly rebar in place in these pictures, ready for concrete. I don't know if that's been covered up since that picture was taken,
I don't
But-
know.
this means stop work
Yeah.
on everything behind the houses.
Yep.
Until these hoops are cleared.
Okay. 455.
So this is a small little two-story. There's a basement, but it's not really occupied. The front porch, if you drive by, it was falling down, collapsing. He has the posts and the railings that were still good in the house, and the brick foundation is still there. So plan is to rebuild it in kind. And we're looking for an approval of the color scheme, and is that it, Eve?
I think so.
Just those two items?
Yeah.
And is this a colonial revival?
It's listed as a Queen Anne Colonial Revival blend. That's not the word that. So we went more on the Queen Anne side.
That's the existing,
The what? Yeah, the whites. That's the existing.
so it's still gonna be stucco.
Still gonna be stucco, yes.
Is this the one where the front porch is?
It's completely
missing?
gone right now.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It was just. I think one of his guys stepped
Wait.
through.
This is 455?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Am I, so, but is it been updated since this was printed?
What do you mean?
So it's just about paint, but am I hearing you talking about replacing in kind the deck as well?
This front porch
Or
was,
porch.
did you
Probably
approve that?
administratively approved.
Administratively, because it was in
Yeah, it's a
kind.
separate issue. I think it was
Was
taken
it
down
E?
before it was approved.
Yeah, I think it was approved
That's-
administratively, but looking at the picture, there is a handicap ramp. Was that on there, or?
I thought I said that, but
And you
I forgot
wouldn't,
to.
you wouldn't be required to put that back.
Correct, yes.
The
Yeah,
existing
the plan is
handicap
not,
ramp.
the
So-
plan is to restore the railing, like, I did some, yes, I definitely did some Photoshop.
Yeah, so that's already been approved
Yeah,
then.
yeah, because it, in kind, so all the original detail will still be there, all the curlicue.
And it will be, like, we
I
understand,
walked
like,
through
we
when I
know what
measured
in
the
kind
house
means.
to start working
Yeah,
on plans.
yeah.
After the
Yeah,
porch
I-
was down, the posts were inside the house.
Okay, that's what you were saying.
Yes.
Okay, I'm tracking
Yes.
now, sorry.
And the
I'm with you.
little scroll detail at the top, and
That's my understanding, is that
Fabulous.
it's all there.
there's gonna be somebody looking, so.
I know there's gonna be some, he knows, he'll know.
Several somebody's looking.
I think the same thing here in terms of the sashes, they aren't really photoshopped here, but
Mhm.
they should be
Separate.
a white or something,
White,
you know,
yeah.
here they could pop with since the trim is that cream.
Okay.
Would you approve with the sash color white? Is that like a
Yeah.
definite or?
I'd make a motion to approve the color scheme as submitted, noting window sashes to be white.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Gable could be an accent color.
Yeah, I was struggling because it's that sort of in between of
Yeah.
the two styles.
Yeah, it's a little, it's not quite,
It's not quite either.
it's not quite pumping up Annie, but.
Yeah.
And is this the door that you guys are using for that? I know the door's not on this, but I just want to ask, is that the door?
I believe it's an existing door that is just being reused.
That is appropriate style.
That's-
So, look
And
for
then, so
that.
going back
Well, there it
to,
is there. That door should be reused, which
Yes.
is not what's showing up in your rendering.
no,
It looks like
it's-
there's a shade
Right.
that's halfway.
there's just a
pulled
shade
down.
halfway
win-
down. It's
Oh.
the glasses.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
it tricked me at first too. I was
Yeah.
like, wait a second.
Okay.
We're all in high alert now.
I know. I
I promise the only thing I photoshopped
Get
was
some more of those
the
and
handicap
put them
ramp
on the
out.
back of the other ones.
But going back to the last two with the decks and the doors, so just a half light with no buttons on the back door, just in terms of what to come back with.
I mean, something like this.
Something like that,
house,
yeah.
I mean,
Just- yeah.
they probably were all the same
Same,
book.
same general
Yeah,
thing.
same
Okay,
supply
and then in
house.
terms of the decks, obviously, the second one, I think we were a little clearer on.
Yeah.
And the railings on that were just plywood, if we go back to that. Is that, so do we need to,
I mean,
sorry, I should have,
It could emulate the one beside it.
beside, okay, so it was just the tighter 2x2s
Yeah.
and a little bit more on the top.
Yeah, a
Rail.
little more detail.
A little
on
more
that
detail, okay.
The cap rail.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's all we're
Yeah,
just
no, that's okay. That's enough for me, though. Thank you all for your
I know
time.
you're just a message bearer, so, you know, please
Yeah.
don't take the barbs personally
Oh,
or anything.
Just send him the recording. If anything's unclear.
Oh, dear.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Julie,
Oh, it's my turn.
you're up.
Oh, we got another one. Hello.
Plus our meeting after. My name is Julie Arrington. I live at 838 Rivermont Ave. Today we're requesting to, so I think the last time I had come in with a request for the roof repair, I'm talking about the same section of roof. The repair that we did not work. And the roof is now falling in on us. And so we need to have it completely replaced. Our roofing contractor recommended using the EPDM rubber to replace it. There's almost no slope to that roof, so he said that that would be the best material to use, obviously the most cost effective, and we would have it match the same color that it is
So
currently.
it's a little piece at the top.
It's that little piece at the top, which is an addition to the house. So that would, I mean, from the aerial view, it would look exactly the same. It would just be the EPDM rubber. And hopefully would not cause any more leaking. They do also need to work on the gutters in that section, and we did tell them that it needs to be the rounded downspouts, so we should be squared away with that. But I'm happy to answer any questions. The second item that we were requesting is a 3-foot tall wooden picket fence with just the Gothic style, not the French Gothic. Just a simple, 2 to 3 inch wide posts that we see throughout the neighborhood, more so further up Rivermont. We really like that look, and we need a little bit more privacy up there, so that's what we're requesting. In the rendering that I did, you don't see the gate, but in the aerial you can see where the gate would be positioned, set back a little bit from the top of the stairs, so you can actually stand at the top without having to mess with the gate on the stairs, and it would be a double gate. And then we would like to paint it white probably, so.
Are there any questions?
One thing I'd say, he talked about the EPDM roof painted white.
Well, I'm not exactly sure how
You can get a rubber roof white.
in white. Okay, then that's
Yeah.
what we would do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure what colors they
Yeah.
came in, but I just wanted to
It comes
make
in
a
black
point.
and white.
Yeah. So we'll get this. We'll
Yeah.
get the white if that's what
Yeah, it'd
the
be better
commission
for
would
you,
prefer.
better for you on maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And cooling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Julie,
Thank you,
thank
guys.
Thank you to show how it's done. The benefit of knowing where the guidelines are, and reading them.
And following them. All right, so we need to come back to our annual business, the election of a chair and vice chair, review the bylaws, and look at the advocates. And did everybody get the card did you get the card for Bill Watson?
No,
Okay.
I did not.
If you want to sign it while we're doing that.
That was, wow.
Yeah, yeah, it was, and
Fast and,
he had not been sick, so. I guess the first, do you take the chair for the election of the chair? And
Yeah. I guess if anyone has a nomination for chair, please speak now, so you can nominate Shanda again, or anyone?
Has anyone expressed interest, or is anyone?
Not that I've heard.
Shanda's doing a great
I will
job.
I will nominate Shanda.
She's our fierce leader.
I'll second.
Thank you.
And then, is there a vote? Ayes.
Aye.
Alright. Shanda, you are chair again.
Thank you, Shanda.
Just one more year.
You rotate off after one more?
No, I have two more, but I think, yeah, we'll see.
I think you only have one vote.
All right, we need a vice
And
chair.
I'm not interested in being vice chair. If I'm honest, I'm considering if I even want to continue as part of the committee, so I'll step back from that one. Not that it was demanding or anything.
But you can't leave us.
I don't know what I'm adding, and I think I'll leave frustrated more than anything else.
You had a lot.
I think you
Mike.
do. I think you
Yeah,
catch a lot
you
of things
really-
that others don't catch, and
Yeah.
I learn a lot from you if it's worth
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
So,
I second, third.
I think you're really good at advocating.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think
And
we
it
need
is
advocates.
discouraging at times, you know, but it's sometimes the same old.
So again, we're all
I think
friends
that
here,
means that you
but when we
care,
go
Mike.
before city
Yeah.
council and they don't appreciate what we're doing, it's hard to feel, I don't know, empowered or motivated to do it. If they don't see the value or they're not interested, why should I? Why am I spending an hour a month and however long driving around? And
Yeah, but if people like you don't do it, that's how the district dies.
True that.
Yeah.
Well, and to that end, even I had a conversation, you know, I went down to Martinsville a month, 6 weeks ago, whatever it was, that last training session that was offered. I take advantage of them because it gives me continuing ed units that I have to have for my license as well. And that was very useful. It was 4 people from Department of Historic Resources. And they noted a number of things. One, continuing education for HPC members is pretty consistent across the state, required and paid for by the locality. And we, I think, are required, but we are having to do it out of our own pocket.
Right.
So I would like to go on record as requesting that the city consider more training, education for the HPC. And also, it was also repeatedly talked about that community education was so important. And that can extend to every level of staff, council, and citizens and realtors, such that you can bring in speakers, you can provide data that helps those that are not attuned, as you know, Ben, to the historic world and the work of the HPC and the huge benefit that it is to the community, not just visually, but socially and economically. And that I think if we had some possibility of education sessions, training sessions, information sessions for staff, council, and the community, that would go a long way to helping allay those pains that we have had in recent years and could well have going forward. I mean, the economic benefits of historic districts
Yeah, they're huge.
are just enormous. To discount them as unimportant and unneeded, it is a statement of ignorance, out of ignorance, of the literal economic benefit that historic districts provide.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know where upstream from you, Eve, is that Tom Martin, is that, community planning director, et cetera, where does that go? But I'd love for us to have some conversation, if that needs to be,
Yeah.
some meeting at some point with the commission and them to kind of talk through that, think through that. I'd love for that to possibly happen.
I think that's great.
And I think that means you have to be vice chair again.
As long as it's understood, might be a vacancy.
So you've been nominated, is there a second?
A second.
Second.
All those
Can't
in
do both,
favor?
can
You can. Aye. Okay, congratulations. But Ben is right, that, it is discouraging, and especially what we had today.
Right, and I'm sure his job's discouraging
Oh,
too,
yeah.
when he's not told and he shows up and sees, yeah.
Yeah. But it's important, that we stand firm. So, the bylaws.
I didn't have any changes, at this point, just put it on there in case, but.
Okay. And the advocates, we have a list here.
Could I ask one question that when there are the repeat is, was it?
Offender.
I was dropping off with the word. I guess it's just our obligation to deny the after the facts.
Well, yeah, there have been times that we have approved after the
Yeah.
fact, and sometimes it is out of ignorance that they somehow missed. And, we certainly need to take that into account. And if what we saw today on, 5 properties by the same owner, if everything was appropriate after the fact,
A piece of
yeah.
cake.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think we were seeing, in that situation, consistent
Yeah.
violations.
And he knows.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. I just was wondering if there's some additional consequence, but really it's just denying when it's inappropriate, even though it's
Unfortunately, we're
difficult.
not empowered to
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
levy
Fine.
consequences or
Right.
punitive damages or
Because
anything of
I
the
feel like
sort.
especially the cutting of the arch and the window,
But again, that could,
it's-
he had a point with the Portland cement patches that are in there. That probably would not have been done right now,
Recent.
from what I've seen of
Right.
other masonry work. So that could well have been
just
15 years ago, somebody just hacked it and didn't care.
Yeah.
There was no district, there was no oversight. You can do whatever you please.
The cheap way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
But
Well,
going
but
forward,
thank you, yeah.
that's
yeah,
not
yeah,
the
we
case
can hold the
anymore.
line, yeah.
Okay.
So,
advocates.
is everybody happy with the assignment that you have? And we have nobody in Federal Hill right now.
We should, so I encourage, if you know anybody who wants to be on the commission, to ask them to apply by September 7th is the deadline for applications. And council should be considering them at the September 12th meeting. So we could potentially have a new commissioner at the next meeting. So if we want to leave that vacant, it's fine.
Okay.
Hopefully we can then discuss with the new commissioner.
Do we have any
Yeah.
previous applicants that
We
will
have-
be considered?
So it's a little tricky. I don't know that they always carry over applications, but Alicia told me we have one current application. So I'm not sure when they applied but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Are there any requirements for the open
No.
vacancy?
So, okay. So is everybody happy with what you have right now? Okay.
When's your degree finished?
What's that?
When's your degree finished?
It's on pause right now. We've had some pretty significant life changes that I'll talk about off record, but, yeah, so.
Okay. Is there other business?
The other thing I would mention is that 713 Pearl has appealed to council. So that should be going to the second meeting in September.
Which one was that?
Is that the guy that had everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, the windows, the door, the front porch, the rear deck. And that meeting will be the 26th. He should be putting up signs soon.
26 September?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do we have to go to the work session?
Yeah, that'll be the 12th.
Okay.
And the work session is afternoon?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really brief. It's not a public hearing. It's just, it's called a business item briefing for council, just
like
so they
for-
know that what's coming up.
It's like 4 PM.
Yes.
Clicking that down.
And we're all supposed to attend?
No, no, no. Shanda comes to represent, HPC.
Got it, yes.
Yeah.
But for the council meeting, I think everybody who can
Mhm.
should.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
one.
at what time?
That one is a public hearing, and so it's open to the public. Anyone can come speak, including people in the neighborhood. That one is at 7:30, but it's during the public hearing portion, which is after a couple of things.
What time, what date, I'm sorry, September
26th.
26. So the Diamond Hill Historic people will be aware.
Yeah, he should be putting signs up.
Okay.
I have not heard or seen. He's supposed to put them up 30 days before the public hearing, so this week, hopefully.
Okay.
Well, not hopefully, but you know what I mean.
Are there people in that district that it would have behooved to notify?
I'll have to think.
You know, the town crier
I'm not sure.
for that area?
It's a little dicey for us on the notification, end,
Yeah.
because then it potentially looks like we're targeting property owners.
Yeah.
So
And-
anybody that chooses to do that of their own volition.
Yeah, I called people the last time, and Francis Calhoun made a very
Yeah.
impassioned
Yeah.
plea. And so I think if you know anybody in Diamond Hill, and I'll find out who's in charge of the society.
Yeah, I think they have a website with their
Yeah.
representatives on there.
I think you're right. So,
Mhm.
but if you know anybody up there on Washington Street, Mr. Sampson. So, okay, any other
Do
business?
you know if there's been any corrective action? I don't remember the number. I think it was 212 or 214 Harrison that
The
was for
windows.
sale. Right.
We have been pursuing him, but it is a little tricky since he's out of state.
Yeah.
So, we've been trying, but not much
Mhm.
success.
I don't know. It's probably not always, but he works in town. He owns a business in town.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that one has been a little bit of a disaster, but we are still trying.
Cool.
I'll update you offline.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been watching the price slowly decrease.
Right.
So,
He started high in my opinion, but that's a different matter.
yeah.
It's a cool house. A duplex.
Okay, other business? If not, we're adjourned.